efficiency codes, incentives, mandates. Within that $30 billion, I think there's $8.9 billion that's going to schools to modernize schools according to the LEED rating system. So there's a tremendous amount of money that's flowing into this space, and I think we're just at the very beginning of it. The other statistic was from XL Specialty Insurance, which underwrites a lot of professional liability policies for architects and engineers. Last summer, they did just an informal poll of their insureds, so meaning architects, engineers, design professionals, and only 14% of those design professionals that they polled said that they were very experienced with green design and green projects. So, and I know that's just sort of anecdotal, but I do think it shows that we're still at the very beginning. And if you position yourself through education by, if you choose to do so, the LEED AP, participating on these projects, holding yourself out as somebody that has some expertise in this space, while keeping in mind some of the risk management stuff that I would love to speak to you about personally, I think you will be set up very well, not only here in New York, but across the entire country, because this is the direction we're going. I think the Obama administration has really made it clear that they are going to take a much more active regulatory role. Both, the stimulus was one thing, but we sort of touched on cap and trade and carbon trading. I think that could be something we see very soon. So things are happening, like I said before, very quickly, and really the only way to keep up, I think, is through education and really positioning yourself in this space.
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is that from my experience in New York City facility managers are incredibly sophisticated. They know what they're doing and they want numerical answers. So this is not, you don't want to go into this field and start talking about how whatever your romantic idea of green building is. You definitely want to get out there and get the actual numbers. And the things that we're seeing increasingly in terms of products that are coming through our programs, we're seeing a lot of very sophisticated electronic controls, continuous commissioning, both understanding commissioning, retro-commissioning, and then what we're calling continuous commissioning, which is kind of having these networks of meters and controls throughout the building that's measuring things at real time and diagnosing problems immediately that reduces your maintenance costs and increases your efficiency. We're seeing a lot of companies popping up doing that sort of thing. And just knowing how much actual dollars and energy you can save people, I think, is the best way you can position yourself in this field, because no one wants to hear nebulous, we're going to make it green. It's not where these facility managers are at. They know what they're doing, especially here in the city. Some other things that I think are really big with the audits coming up, the building performance, building analyst courses, again through BPI, that we reimburse 100%. I think that's an interesting area to go. I think energy modeling is going to be much more in demand. So I think a lot of you architects probably have the ability to kind of go into that field very, very easily. We require it for a lot of our programs. LEED requires it for certification. So as you see more and more programs for city buildings and other buildings requiring LEED certification, they're all going to need energy modelers. Lighting, obviously, there's going to be a lot of work on lighting. LEDs is the new area there. There's still a lot of room to grow there, a lot of variability in the market. We're still looking at LEDs, but it's definitely worth getting up on your lighting, because I think you're going to see lighting regulation across the country, but it's already happening in New York City. So you should know what's going on in that field. Other than that, I mean, knowing your numbers, and if you know your numbers, you can do a better marketing job. That's how you can sell yourself. And don't try and pull anything out. If you come at them with real numbers that not only is this going to be your carbon footprint, but this is going to be your savings, people take you seriously because you can get them both. And that's how you're going to sell stuff. So that's.
Thank you.
There you go.
I've got a slightly different tack to take with you guys. I may not be the smartest guy at this table, but if I have a great team around me, let's take, for instance, some of you may have guessed if you saw me standing around, I play basketball, or I used to. But if I had on my team LeBron James and Kobe and Chris Paul and all of those guys, I could sit back and do nothing, and I would probably win 90% of my games. So what I say to you guys is, who do you know who's a lead architect? Who do you know who's a certified energy manager? Who do you know who's an energy auditor? I don't expect you guys to be the experts, but just by the sheer fact that you're here and your colleagues aren't, you know the guy or the girl who sits next to you in the cubicle, they're not here. By definition, you're already going to be able to beat them. You know, the market's changing. It changed quantumly last year. I don't know if every one of you wrote that down, what Thomas said, so I'm going to paraphrase it one time. He said there's 4 major things coming that are going to completely change the game as you guys are currently playing it. I don't care what industry you're in, if you're an architect, a real estate broker, this is the stuff I quickly wrote down. Number 1, you're going to have an audit done on your building. So if you're buying, selling, advising on anything, you better know someone who's good at doing energy audits. He said he's talked about a rating system that the EPA is coming out with. Hey, other countries have already done this. New York isn't leading the world in that. In fact, we're lagging in that area. The fact that we're going to be doing it is fantastic. The fact that you guys know about it, even if you maybe didn't read about it in the papers yet, doesn't matter. You're already one step ahead of your competition. EPA is going to have something coming out, and those are going to be the guidelines and the rules. So, I mean, in Germany, you have to have that right now to buy or sell a building. You have to have that certificate. You just heard it from Thomas. It's coming here. It's not when. It's more how's the legislation going to be shaped. 50,000 square feet or greater. If a building is 50,001 square feet, guess what? Going to need a lighting upgrade. Who do you know who knows stuff about that? Maybe you know an electrician. Is he up to speed on that? Do you know a lighting designer? Do you know someone who's an MEP? Do you know someone who can do that? I don't expect you to know it. I don't even know that. But I can pick up the phone and with one phone call get someone who's really kick-ass at that. He also talked about the energy code. How many of you familiar with the energy code? Now, 1, outstanding. Now, you can go in there and see the energy code, but for those of you who are interested,